My wife cheated with her cousin when he moved in. They secretly used my money to build a new life and forged my signature to rent a place. I am 30 years old and have been married to Lorena, who is 29, for almost 3 years. In total, we have been together for 5 years. At least that is what I thought. We had our routines, our couple rituals, movie nights on Fridays, pancakes every Sunday. We worked out together at the gym where I helped her with the weights, and she pretended to hate leg day. It was not perfect, but it was our home. And then Mauricio, her 31-year-old cousin, showed up. Let me clarify something. Mauricio was not that kind of distant relative who only shows up at Christmas. They grew up together, almost like siblings, shared vacations, inside jokes from childhood, baby pictures hanging in their mother's house where they appear together. He was always very present. He even used to joke that he was the honorary best man at our wedding. I used to find it funny. Now it just sounds pathetic. When he moved back to the city last year, I did not give it too much importance. He had separated, he had lost his job, he needed a place to stay, and Lorena suggested that he use our guest room for a few weeks. I did not love the idea, but I did not oppose it. That was my first mistake. What was supposed to be a few weeks turned into 3 months. 3 months in which Lorena repeated that he is family every time I asked when he was leaving. 3 months with him installed in the house, watching series with her, coming with us to the gym, buying groceries to help, staying home while I worked, and always finding some excuse to spend time with her when I was not around. It started to feel like I had a roommate I never invited. Or worse, as if little by little he was taking my place. One night I came home from work and found them assembling an IKEA furniture piece. They were laughing with those inside jokes of theirs. Their music was playing on my speaker, and they were using my tools. I did not even know they had bought new shelves. "Oh, we wanted to surprise you," she said, smiling. And Mauricio, without missing a beat, I put it together faster than him. Days later, I came home from work and found them lying on the living room floor, next to each other, surrounded by old photo albums. He had his hand on her ankle, as if nothing was happening. I stood at the door. "What is going on?" Lorena looked up as if I had interrupted a movie scene. "We were looking at pictures from when we were kids. You have to see Mauricio's bowl cut," she said, laughing. "I already know what you were thinking. How could I have been so naive to let her cousin stay with us, that I should have seen it coming? Believe me, in retrospect, I feel like punching myself. But when you trust someone, when you believe there are lines that are simply not crossed, you tend to justify things. He is her cousin, for God's sake. Who thinks of something like that? Who starts something with their own cousin? That is not just betrayal, it is twisted on another level. I never imagined they would reach that point. Not in my house, not them. So I decided to talk to her. It was Tuesday night. We were sitting on the couch. I was watching the news and checking my phone. She was on her phone, again smiling with an expression she had not directed at me for weeks. I leaned in close enough to see the contact on the screen, Mauricio. I put down my phone and said, "You have been talking a lot lately." "No." She did not even look up. "He is going through a difficult time. I am just supporting him." "For 3 months," I replied, "and with you involved." Then she looked at me with that look that was already full of reproach. "What do you mean?" "I mean that he is in this house more than I am, that you text him all day, you go out with him more than with me. It is strange, Lorena." She snorted and threw her phone onto the couch as if I had insulted her. "You are being paranoid." "No," I said, sitting up. "I am being observant. You spend more time with him than with me. Meals, errands, helping him with things that take hours. He is your cousin, not your shadow." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, right. Now I cannot support my family without your permission. It is not about supporting, it is about boundaries. And you are acting as if yours no longer exist." Then she said one of those phrases she used to win arguments with. "Mauricio has been there for me in ways that you have not. At least he listens to me. You are just tired, working, or criticizing everything I do." I was silent for a moment. "Are you seriously comparing me to your cousin? Are you listening to yourself?" She stood up abruptly. "I cannot believe you are doing this, making a drama. He is family. You are making a fool of yourself." I did not reply. In a firm voice, "What you are doing is exposing what is already obvious. And I am not the only one who notices it. Do you really think no one else realizes it?" She crossed her arms, her jaw tense. "If you are so insecure, look in the mirror before telling me who I can or cannot spend time with." I slowly shook my head. "It is not insecurity, it is respect. And you are ignoring it." She picked up her cell phone, muttered that she needed air, and left the house. That is when I knew something was not right. Not with Mauricio, with her. Because when I confronted her, she did not defend our marriage, she defended him. I tried not to obsess over it. But then this happened. I arrived one afternoon and found a keychain with an electronic card on the countertop. It was a new apartment key. I picked it up. What is this? Lorena barely blinked. Mauricio signed a lease. Is not it great? It should have been, but there was one detail. My name also appeared on the contract. I called the leasing office to confirm, and they sent me a copy of the signed document. My signature was there. The problem is, I never signed it. I had in front of me a legal contract that financially bound me to Mauricio's apartment, and I did not even know it existed. That night I confronted her. At first she froze, and then tried to deflect. We needed a guarantor. Mauricio does not have any income yet. I did not want to worry you, so I took care of it. You forged my signature, I said. I was going to tell you. She replied with wide eyes, feigning innocence. I just did not know how. And in that instant I felt that emptiness. That moment when you understand that the person next to you is not who you thought they were. I did not yell. I just said, I need some air, and I left. So I called my friend Sergio. He is not a detective or a hacker, just a technology and gadget fanatic. I told him what I suspected, that Lorena and Mauricio were not just playing house with my name on their contracts. He was silent for a second. Are you serious? Do you think there is something between them? But are not they cousins? Yes. And that is precisely why I did not see it coming. But there are too many signs, too much strange behavior. Sergio sighed slowly. Man, if you are right, that is not just infidelity. It is the kind of scandal that ruins family gatherings forever. I know, I said. And I am not accusing them blindly. I need the truth. Have you ever used device synchronization? He suddenly asked. What? Lorena and I had matching smartwatches. It was an anniversary gift, one of those couple things. They were connected to the same cloud account. Most people do not stop to think about everything that is synchronized when you log in from multiple devices. So I accessed our shared account from my phone and downloaded the messages from her watch. Only the text messages. I did not want to be a total spy. I just needed answers. And I got them. Late-night messages from Mauricio. Things like, you looked amazing today, or I wish we could have stayed longer at the new place. Or even worse, I am thinking about that first time in the back seat. We have to be more careful. He is not stupid. Each message was like a punch to the chest, back seat, new place, and on top of that, he is not stupid. That was the most repulsive thing. They knew perfectly well they were crossing a line, and yet they continued, being cousins. I saved every screenshot, every word. Not for revenge, not yet. What I needed was to understand how far all of this went. So I played dumb. I pretended everything was normal. I kissed her before going to sleep, had dinner with both of them, asked Mauricio how the job search was going, while imagining smashing his face against the countertop. But this was not about losing control. It was a strategic game, and I was no longer playing checkers. First, I called the rental office, pretending to be interested in my new apartment. The woman who answered was too kind, very enthusiastic, and started giving details as if I were the future tenant. 3rd floor, 2 bedrooms, washer and dryer included, and the best part, a lease signed in your name thanks to your excellent credit history and income. She even thanked me for paying the first 3 months in advance. I did not know any of this. I remained calm, took notes, and hung up without raising suspicion. Then I drove to the complex, parked in front, and waited. It did not take long. Around noon, Mauricio arrived driving Lorena's car. It was not even his car. He opened the apartment door with a satisfied smile. 2 minutes later, she appeared. Without nerves, without caution, as if she lived there. They did not even try to hide it. I could have crossed the street, knocked on the door, and made a scene, but I stayed there, observing, analyzing every detail of that building while they thought I was busy at work. They settled comfortably into a hideout paid for by me. They were even taking dishes that I had bought. That night, when I got home, I started checking. Nothing obvious was missing, but her jewelry box was messy and some dresses I had not seen for weeks were gone. She was moving little by little, while still sleeping in my bed as if nothing was happening. That is when I understood. They were not just cheating on me, they were building a life without me. They just forgot the part where they had to tell me. I decided to test her. During dinner, I casually mentioned that one of my clients had told me about some apartments near the mall. As soon as I finished the sentence, Lorena shrugged. Oh yeah, does not ring a bell, she said, looking down at her plate. She did not ask for the name or the area, and she never missed an opportunity to talk about real estate. She once spent 20 minutes commenting on paint colors for a house in a YouTube video. But this time she acted as if she had to concentrate on not giving herself away. I thought you would know it, I added without changing my tone. They say it has a good layout. Corner apartments, walk-in closets. Many places have that, she replied quickly, almost interrupting me. And she got up. Do you want anything from the kitchen? No, I am fine, I said without moving. She disappeared down the hall. I did not follow her. I just waited. 2 minutes later, I heard her voice, low, contained. And then the second voice, one that made my blood run cold. It was Mauricio. He mentioned the complex. He whispered, Lorena, I do not know how he found out, he said. Someone at work mentioned it. Pause. No, I did not say anything. I acted normal. Another pause. Mauricio said something I could not understand. I think he is testing the waters, nothing more, but still weird, right? Out of the blue like that. That was all I needed. They were not only guilty, they were scared. And yet they thought I was too naive to notice anything. The following days I dedicated myself to reorganizing everything. I changed all the passwords, froze the shared card, transferred my accounts to a private network. I even called the insurance company to check the policies. And yes, she had tried to change the beneficiary, just in case. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Lorena kept up her act. She smiled more. She cooked. She brought me my favorite things as if she really cared. It was all a performance, and I kept pretending, just enough for her to believe that I still had control. That was the goal. I also visited a lawyer. His name was William. He is a military man, serious, sharp, the kind of person who does not need to raise his voice to be imposing. I told him about the fake contract, the impersonation, the affair with her cousin. He did not even flinch. Cousins? What a twisted case, he said. First, let us make sure your assets are protected, then we take care of the rest. I liked him instantly. We spent hours reviewing documents, properties, accounts. And I discovered that, thanks to her using my identity without my consent, I had very strong legal options. William gave me a list and warned me, do not reveal anything yet. Let her keep believing you do not know anything. The hardest part was keeping calm, acting as if I did not know who I was talking to during the day or where she really was. But I did it, because if I wanted to cut everything off without leaving any loose ends, I had to be cold. The last straw came with a text message. She was supposedly at yoga. She sent me a photo of her smoothie with the caption, Self-Care Day. Any problem? But the synchronized watch indicated her exact location. The same apartment, the same room, at the same time. I smiled, not out of happiness, but because finally everything was lining up. The next morning, I got up before her and sat in the car for 20 minutes. I was not planning, I was organizing my thoughts. Everything she had done up to that point was disguised as collaboration, help, the ideal partner. But it was nothing more than covert manipulation, signing with my name, coordinating joint tasks that ended in visits to Mauricio's apartment. And I was not going to tolerate it anymore. I realized that I was not just facing infidelity. It was something much more calculated. I was living with someone who wanted to disappear from my life without raising suspicion, but taking all the benefits of still being tied to me. And that was what hurt the most. That afternoon, I made one of the smartest decisions in the midst of all this mess. I took the day off. I called work pretending to be sick and stayed home without telling her. I turned off phone tracking, closed all the curtains, left a friend's car parked in front of the house, and waited. I wanted to know how she acted when she thought I was not around. And it did not take long to get answers. Around 10:15 in the morning, Lorena left the house in workout clothes. No mat, no gym bag, just her keys in a bag I had never seen her with before. I waited 5 minutes and followed her, always keeping 3 cars away. She did not go to the gym, nor did she stop by her usual coffee shop. She drove straight to an apartment complex where Mauricio supposedly lived alone. She used the gate code without hesitation, as if she had memorized it a long time ago. I parked in a nearby square and waited. 2 hours later, they came out. She was wearing a different blouse. He was laughing. They looked calm, unhurried, without remorse, as if they were simply sharing a life in which I had no place. And then the truth hit me hard. She had already disconnected from everything we had. It was not an emotional mistake or an impulse. She was building her next life step by step, apartment key included, waiting for the right moment to leave ours behind. That night, I did not say anything, but I did something that changed everything. While she was showering, I opened her laptop. She did not have a password. In the browser, she was still connected to her personal cloud. There, in plain sight, was a folder called Next Steps. Inside, I found a draft email addressed to her cousin, a detailed list of shared household expenses, screenshots of our bills, and even an outline of how everything could be divided if we separated amicably. But the worst part was a footnote where she said that I probably would not put up a fight because I always avoided conflict. It did not hurt because it was true, but because she trusted that it would be. I also found scans of my signature, real signatures taken from PDF documents that she had manipulated to imitate my handwriting. It was not a slip-up, it was a plan, a meticulous strategy. I photographed each file, made backup copies, and then accessed the home's print history. I remembered that one night, she printed a lot of forms while I was asleep. Sure enough, they were still there, several documents under real estate and contract headings, all downloaded from her cousin's email. She was not hiding. She just assumed that I would never look. The next day, I met with William again. I told him everything and showed him the evidence, photos, screenshots, print logs. He leaned back, cracked his knuckles, and said, "Okay, let us close all the doors on her." He guided me to gather everything that was in my name, utilities, loans, subscriptions. We started taking everything out of the shared sphere. He explained that it served as legal evidence, and that no. And then he mentioned something I had not considered. We had to protect ourselves against a possible accusation of property abandonment. He explained that some people move, leave the bills in the other person's name, and then claim that the house belongs to them because the other person left them in charge. It sounded absurd, but with someone who had already forged my signature, it made sense. So I filed a declaration of occupancy with the mortgage company, officially stating that I was still living there. That weekend, I changed all the locks. She did not ask any questions. She just commented something about the previous ones being faulty. I nodded and smiled politely. From then on, every night, I became more organized. I made backup copies, photographed valuables, documented the house inventory, bought a fireproof safe, and stored my passport, my social security number, and a USB drive with all the information gathered. It was not paranoia, it was preparation for Monday. I already had a folder thicker than a university thesis. Evidence, statements, timelines, records. I was ready. It was not about if I would confront her, but how. And as for when, I wanted it to be surgical. No warnings, no fights, no scenes. If she treated it like business, I would too. I asked William to draw up the divorce papers, but not a standard template. We filled them with clauses in my favor. Since she had forged a signature on a legal document, we included a formal accusation of fraud, demanding that she renounce any claim to our assets. I also asked to keep the house and to have her removed from the utilities and property documents. Everything legally sealed, with no room for interpretation. Then we planned the timing. Every Thursday, she followed the same ritual, manicure 10 minutes from home, followed by smoothies with Mauricio. She always uploaded a selfie from the nail salon with a caption like self-care before the chaos. So that Thursday, just as she was settling into her usual chair, William sent a courier. The delivery man went straight in, said her full name out loud, and handed her the envelope. She froze. The nail technician looked up, puzzled. Several clients watched in silence. That moment must have hurt more than any drying lamp. Meanwhile, I watched everything from home. The salon had uploaded a story on Instagram just before she was served. Lorena appeared smiling, showing off pink nail polish, feigning a happiness that was seconds away from crumbling. She returned an hour and a half later with the expression of someone whose car had just been keyed. And she did not need to say anything. It was already done. Lorena stormed in, slamming the door shut. She dropped her purse on the counter and went straight to the kitchen, clutching the divorce papers as if I had mailed her a live snake. I did not get up or pause what I was watching on TV. She held the envelope up in the air, shaking it angrily. "Are you serious with this? You give it to me like this, as if I were any stranger?" I did not even turn my head completely. That is what happens when you sign my name on a lease and start planning a future with your cousin. Her face contracted in a mixture of surprise and rage. "Oh my God, Are you still going on with that stupidity? He is my family. What is truly disgusting, I said, now looking directly at her, is that you have been playing at having a parallel life with someone you have always called brother. That is not just betrayal, it is disturbing. She blinked rapidly and then pursed her lips. Well, now I am sick. And you think you can talk to me like that after everything we have been through? You are right, I replied calmly. I should not call you sick. I should say that on top of that, you are a fraud, because you had no problem forging my signature to help your little friend, with whom you are now living. She opened her mouth as if to unleash a litany, but the words did not come in time. Instead, she scoffed and threw out the typical evasion. You always do the same thing. You turn everything around. You never trusted me. That is why this is falling apart. You live making things up in your head, and you take them as if they were reality. How curious, I said. All I had to do was check receipts, connection logs, emails. Neither you nor Mauricio bothered to cover your tracks. I suppose when you are comfortable doing shady things with someone who shares your blood, you get careless. Her expression changed, as if I had slapped her. Are you out of your mind? No, Lorena. What is happening is that I am no longer the idiot you thought I was. She stood there, breathing heavily, waiting for me to break, to give in as before. But this time, I turned my attention back to the TV. I did not say another word. Then came the tears, late, forced. I did not move an inch. All I could think about was how many times she had smiled at me while planning her exit, how many nights she kissed me and then sent messages to Mauricio as soon as I fell asleep. You cannot shut me out like this, she said, her voice cracking. We built a life together. You destroyed that life when you decided that I was your backup plan, I replied, standing up. And the fact that you were surprised by this says it all. She did not speak again. She grabbed a few things, her phone, a charger, her purse, her jacket, nothing more. She left the house as if she was going to be back in an hour and believed everything would be resolved. But it was not. As soon as the door closed, I sent a message to William, delivery confirmed. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a message that said, "Welcome to Phase 2. The next morning, I checked the accounts. As I suspected, she had tried to access our joint savings, unsuccessfully. I had already blocked her from everything. She sent me 3 messages. I did not reply to any of them. The first one just said, "We can talk." The second was longer, with a pleading tone. In the third, she accused me of being cruel. But I was not being cruel. I was marking an end. The following week was eerily quiet. That kind of calm that you know precedes something with people like her. When they lose control, the next thing they do is try to manipulate the story. And so it was. Mauricio showed up. He called me after months without a word. He had the nerve to sound relaxed. "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" I did not even bother to answer. "Look, things got out of control," he insisted. "Lorena is not well. I know this is a mess, but maybe we can clear it up." Then I spoke, in a low voice, without getting upset. "You slept with my wife. You used my name to get an apartment. What exactly are we supposed to clear up?" There was an uncomfortable silence. Then he said something so stupid that I almost laughed. "I did not think you would find out." I leaned back in my chair, shaking my head. "That figures, because no one in their right mind does what you did believing it will never be known." "It was not like that, bro," he hurried to say. "You do not know the whole story." I started laughing. "Enlighten me, then. I am dying to know how sleeping with your cousin while she is still married to me can be justified." He got defensive. "We did not plan it. It just happened. She was unhappy, you were distant, and we connected. Besides, we are not blood relatives." "Oh, right," I snapped, as if that made it acceptable. "Because what? You are only related by marriage? Mauricio, you are disgusting. You played with someone you have always called family. And I do not care how miserable she claimed to be. You do not get into bed with your cousin while she is living with the man who gave you a roof over your head. You do not understand." He mumbled something. "No, the one who does not understand is you," I replied, this time firmly. "Do you think this is just about her? You stole my trust. You used my name. You tried to build your life on what I built. And you did it with someone you share baby pictures with? Does that seem normal to you?" Silence. "I will tell you what is going to happen," I continued. "You are going to delete my number. You are going to stay away from me. And you are going to pray that this does not end up in court, because if I hear your name again, it better be from a lawyer or a judge." "Wow, but cannot we at least talk?" I interrupted him without hesitation. "We already did." After hanging up, I blocked him without further ado. I guess they thought I would be paralyzed by the shock, that I would try to save the marriage, or that I would react with the same passivity as before. But I was not that guy anymore. Not after everything I had discovered, not after what they tried to do behind my back. They wanted a discreet separation, without fuss. I offered them the legal equivalent of a demolition. By the end of that week, I had already done everything in my power within the legal framework, but I still did not feel like everything was closed. The documents had been filed, the forgery had been registered, the property was back in my name alone. However, Mauricio, that guy, was still out there, acting as if he had only made a silly mistake, as if his actions had no consequences. And that had to change. Mauricio was self-employed in marketing, or at least that is what he called it. He used to have contract work, some brand consulting, campaigns for medium-sized companies in the city, businesses that depended largely on trust, image, and reputation in the community. I remembered seeing some of his clients' names and email headings when he left his laptop open one night months ago. I started there. I chose the most visible one and sent them an anonymous message from the contact section of their website. It was short, clear, and direct. You should know that one of your consultants, Mauricio R., is involved in a legal process that includes forged documents, a fraud investigation, and inappropriate conduct that could negatively affect your image. I attached an edited copy of the contract with my forged signature and a snippet of the email he sent using my name. I went too far, maybe, but I did not lie. 2 days later, I found out they had removed him from the project. I did not need anyone to tell me. I saw it directly on the company's website. Mauricio's name disappeared from the footer. That same day, another brand published an urgent call looking for a replacement for a marketing consultant. It was one of the jobs he used to have. The dominoes were falling, one after another. I did not gloat. I did not post anything. I just kept gathering evidence. If he ever tried to sue me, I would already have the upper hand. Meanwhile, Lorena dealt with her own breakdown. She started leaving things on the porch, things I had not asked for, a sweater I did not even remember having, a mug from our anniversary trip. Once she left a note that said, "I still love you. Please do not erase everything we had." I did not answer. I scanned the paper, saved it with the rest of the documents, and then threw it in the trash. She also started testing my limits. One day, she showed up unannounced, just as I was washing the car. She did not text. She did not call. She just stopped at the entrance as if she still lived there. I remained calm. I turned off the hose and told her she had 5 minutes. At first, she kept a cordial tone. She said she missed me, that everything had gotten out of control, that what happened between her and Mauricio had not gone beyond the emotional. I let her talk, let her dig her own hole. And then I asked, "And the emails where you said you were in his bed? The photos in his shared folder? The attempt to change the utilities to his name without me knowing? Was that emotional too?" She did not answer. Instead, she tried to turn the narrative around. She told me that if I had fought harder for her, maybe things would not have gone so far. Gaslighting in its purest form. But no, I did not budge. "You tried to rewrite the facts," I said, "but I read the original version and I do not intend to swallow your edit." She left crying again, and I just murmured, "It is too late for that." That night I got a message from an unknown number. It was Mauricio. "You did not have to go nuclear, bro." I did not reply. I just took a screenshot, just in case. When the truth finally came out about Lorena and Mauricio, the family scandal was total. Her mother called me crying, not to apologize, but to ask me if it was true. "But they are cousins," she repeated, as if saying it many times made it less serious. Her father, who barely spoke to me before, sent me a message. "None of us agree with this." Even Mauricio's sister blocked him from all social media. Even family members who used to avoid drama were scandalized. No one defended them. No one said, "We have to give them a chance." Because no matter how hard they tried to disguise it, everyone agreed. What they did was disturbing, humiliating, and completely unacceptable. Then came the silence. They stopped showing up, as if someone had flipped a switch. No more notes on the porch, no surprise visits. But I did not fool myself. I knew they were still out there, waiting to see if I dragged everything through the mud. What they did not understand was that I no longer needed to do it. They sank themselves. I used that silence to rebuild myself. I started spending time again with people I had pushed away while trying to hold on to a marriage that was already broken, old friends, co-workers, even some cousins I had not seen for years. Each conversation reminded me of who I was before, the focused, serene, determined guy. The one who had been buried under years of concessions and efforts for someone who had stopped fighting for us long before I noticed. One night, I ran into an acquaintance of Lorena's, Samantha. We were not close, but we had met at a few gatherings. She took my arm and said quietly, "I want you to know that some of us saw what was going on, and we did not agree." Mauricio has always been a problem. That stuck with me, because it was not just Lorena's betrayal that hurt me, but the silence of those around her. That someone finally acknowledged it gave me a kind of closure. I even saw Lorena's mother at the supermarket. She looked surprised and gave me an uncomfortable smile, as if she did not know what to say. I just nodded and went on my way. Years ago, I would have stopped to be polite, but not anymore. Not after everything her daughter allowed to happen under her roof. By the end of the month, Mauricio had moved out of the apartment. It was rumored that he could not pay the rent without Lorena's help, and that she was not doing so well either. After trying to build a future at my expense, they both ended up isolated, without support or a plan. I did not make a toast to that. I did not write an epic closing post on social media. I simply allowed myself to breathe differently. I began to rebuild my house, piece by piece. I painted the walls we had left half-finished. I started playing the guitar that was gathering dust in the closet again, and every morning I made coffee without looking twice at the door. I was no longer waiting for anyone to come back. Some nights, stray thoughts would still come, not of sadness, but of learning. What broke me was not just the betrayal, but all the time I spent pretending that our relationship was still alive when it was already rotten inside. But there I was, standing on the ruins, without needing to rebuild the same thing. This time would be different.